So I think there is a lot of overlap between project-based learning and what I'm talking about today in terms of using assessment for learning. And in this case, we're going to talk about exit tickets. So let me know if everything is fine. I mean, you can see the slides and everything. Yeah, it's all right. No black spot somewhere, as Zoom does sometimes. Okay, okay. Thank you very much. I can see a
Great,
thumbs up.
great.
Okay, thank you very much, Eugenia. So, reflective students, lifelong learners, as I do believe in this, and we're going to look at how we can explore exit tickets to help our learners and to promote that reflective spirit, which they might not think that they have. So that's our duty. What we'll try to cover today in this session is why reflection is important. And I'm going to rely heavily on one amazing educator here. What are exit tickets? I'm going to share some research findings on exit tickets, which is not my research, but just the findings that I have found particularly useful in terms of this topic. And then I will share my own practical examples and also some examples from the online sources, again, that I have found really useful. We will discuss some challenges and solutions related to the use of exit tickets. And then, yes, of course, it's yours, not tour. It should be your exit ticket toolbox. My apologies. I was like the last minute change. Okay. So think back to recent class you had. So here's the first link for you. We're going to do a few interactive activities, just to try our hand a little bit at exit tickets per se. So you can also use them with your students. So I'm going to share three very useful tools, digital tools in this presentation as well. So if you think back to a recent class you had as a teacher or as a student, who knows? How did you know that your students actually understood what you had taught them or how they felt at the end of your lesson? And imagine you had just one sentence or one picture from each student. So what could they tell you? Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes to join slido.com. If you can't scan a QR code, just go to slido.com and enter the code that you can see below. And then we're going to take a look at some of the responses. You can also write the answers in the chat box. Let me see. Yeah, I can see the chat. So you can also write down in the chat box. It's fine. Okay, I love that. Yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down. Yeah, it's the fastest way. Like ding, ding. That's it. Emoji. Yes, yes, I do this too, right? Especially with low-level students. We want to see if they can actually respond. Confused. Yes. Because sometimes, in the staff room, we discuss this. Yeah, no, we did present perfect. Why they can't use it? Yeah, it doesn't mean that they learn. If we teach them, it doesn't mean they learned it. And then it just clicks straight away, right? Why do they never use in present simple? Just because it doesn't click. Select. Okay, okay. How they can use? Yes, 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 yes. Sometimes I do that too. I ask them, can you make a sentence in past simple, for instance? Or again, I will share an example of this in the exit ticket. How I not only ask them to reflect on their lesson performance, but I also think about or ask them to think about where they actually learned, which phrases or which language. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I'll give you like 30 more seconds. Tools, okay, peer strategy. You can talk to your peer. Yes, I remember we were doing this connecting culture project, and we were having these students from another country, from Spain. So we are in Hanoi, in Vietnam, with students from Spain. And I remember at the end of the lesson, the teacher actually asked them to talk to each other and say, okay, what did you learn today? That's great. Peaceful. All right, peaceful. Reading, rereading classmate book. Oh, great. I love the answers. Right, so keep them coming. If you have any other answers, go for it. So let's take a look first of all at why reflection is important. So you may know, or many of you have probably heard of the name of John Dewey, who was an established philosopher, educator in the beginning of the 20th century. And his ideas are obviously very relevant today, especially when we talk about teaching English. And so he tells us three powerful things about learning and reflection. First of all, when our students say, well, I've learned something today, and this is what he says. This is when they start thinking about how they actually got there to that learning point. And this is how real growth happens. Take a look at his quote. He reminds us that we need to encourage students' thought, because this thought results in belief, and only then it does have importance attached to it. And this belief itself encourages reflection, and reflection makes learning happen. That's why it's so important to make students reflect on their performance. And secondly, he says that it's not enough for students to just answer questions, just to feel noises, because some students tell me, because my teacher wants me to say this, or my teacher wants me to give this answer. Because these noises don't mean deep understanding, because students should be made accountable for how they actually got to that understanding. So you see, we need to give them space to explain their own thinking, and that's really important. And the third quote is actually my favorite, because Dewey compares thinking to digestion. Just as we need to give time for our food to settle down, we need to give our learners time to let ideas sink in and slowly make sense of what is going in the classroom. And this is what Dewey beautifully calls leisurely mental digestion. Just think about it. And here's his quote, his third quote. The teacher must secure opportunities for leisurely mental digestion. And it's 1933, right? And we are now in 2025. I think it's as relevant as ever, especially given all this talk about very short attention spans. So, Dewey, yes, actually, his ideas remind us that reflection is an intentional, just like meditation. It's an intentional intellectual exercise to help us recall, evaluate experiences, and slowly start making sense of what is happening in the classroom and with my learning as a student. It helps students to recognize what they're good at, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. They can look back at the lesson, or we need to encourage them to look back at the lesson to understand what they have learned, and then slowly decide how to move forward. And this sort of reflection gives students time or opportunity to question their assumptions and identify areas for future growth. So what exactly are exit tickets? So exit tickets are also called tickets to leave. They're also called exit slips, or even 1 minute paper in Stats paper dated 2005. Shortly speaking, or briefly speaking, they're short written or spoken responses that students complete at the end of a lesson. So as you can see, they can take various forms. As you can see in these examples, they can come in a simple sticky note form or post-it note, 3, 2, 1 reflection. They can just come up as a piece of paper where you ask your students to write 3 things they have learned today. It can be a drawing or a snapshot of something they have learned on that day. It can be a sentence starter. What surprised me today was the topic of education and knowing what crowdfunding means, or list 3 of your strengths. These are high school students, so maybe they are at that point of cognitive development when they can actually understand their strengths, or what they consider to be their weaknesses. It can even be a quick digital response, for example, from Padlet or from Socrative, and we're going to try both of these today, or even from Slido. So the key thing is that they're not tests, they're not formal. There is no correct answer, there is no right answer. And what I love about paper exit ticket, especially with young learners, since we're talking about young learners today in this conference over this weekend, is that they can collect them, You can print them out on different colored paper, use different formats in terms of question types, and they can put them in this envelope. You see, and then they can reflect on their learning. They can review as well what they've learned over the semester. So later I'm going to share some more focused examples so you can have a better idea of what I'm talking about. So, but first, let's pause for a moment and let me know which exit tickets have you used most often in your classes. So I'm going to share another QR code, and this time we're going to socrative.com. Socrative, I've heard it pronounced as well. You might need to enter the room name, which is OSDA 1592. And just choose your responses. So I'm just gonna keep the QR code here, and the questions are as follows. Which type of exit tickets do you use? If you have never used it, think of your learners and given their needs and aims and wants, which one do you think would be potentially most appropriate? And maybe which one you would like to learn more about, try out in your own classroom. Okay, so here's the screenshot again. I'm gonna go to Socrative. And okay, yeah, so it's completely anonymous. So we're just gonna see the results. Okay, that's lovely. So yeah, let's see some statistics. 1 minute paper, quick reflection, traffic light. Yes, I've actually heard my colleagues talking a lot about traffic light, particularly I think in primary classrooms. They respond really well. Post-it very fast. Easy. Okay, digital tickets, great. If you have an opportunity or if your students have got their devices, they're allowed to use devices, for example, in the classroom. Snapshots. Okay. So let's take a quick look at which ones you find effective. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm going to check the chat box as well. Yes. Is there enthusiastic notes and Padlet? Yes. Some teachers or students, or let's say the whole class together, they might even implement a journal, maybe where they write their little reflections at the end of each lesson, which I think is a great idea. And we're also developing that skill of handwriting, which we're kind of losing, I think, especially with high school students. Okay, let me see the results. So the majority seems to find peer feedback and some creative options such as drawing or memes most effective for their learners, with digital ones being the least popular or least effective. Okay. All right, that's interesting. You would like to try all variety? Yes, and we will talk about variety at the very end. It's one of the key things, maybe, to kill the boredom in the classroom and predict the sense of that everything is predictable. Okay, all right, that's great. So again, keep them coming. I might get back to them at the end. So before we move on to practical examples, let me just share with you a few research findings because, exit tickets are not just a cute end of class idea. They're actually solid research supported strategy. So OMPs, if you remember, they stand for 1 minute paper, which hasn't proven really well for me in my classroom in terms of time. I don't think 1 minute is enough. Maybe for a quick thumbs up. Yes, I agree. But for example, STAND in 2005 did research in higher education. So it was about lecturers in higher education. And they found that exit tickets actually help students summarize key ideas from the course, from the lecture, receive instant feedback from teachers, as well as organize their thinking and even improve their test performance. In 2019, Fowler et al., their study involved 13 middle and high school teachers who now are going to school. And they revealed, that's maybe one thing I really like about exit tickets, they revealed a high level of honesty in students' responses. So when you give them a chance to write, you might agree with me here or disagree. You give them a chance to write, they will tell you much more than they can do it orally, for example. And also they highlighted areas for improvement and helped identify learners who required extra support, which I think is also very important. In 2021, our Basel study actually surveyed, now we're going to pupils themselves, 73 pupils, grades 4 to 6, and found that exit tickets, they increase learner autonomy, especially in young learner settings where students are just beginning to take ownership of their own learning. So it's quite important. There are some examples of the findings here from the same paper by Basco, whether it was a predictor of academic performance, the use of exit slips. So you see students strongly agree that it's a helpful tool. So, and a couple more studies in 2021, Kersman et al. Showed that using online quizzes, so try to find different research and exit tickets. Now we're going to online quizzes as exit tickets. With undergraduate students, help learners reinforce key concepts again from the course and improve material retention. They could remember better what they had learned and maybe boost their confidence because, again, they were given immediate feedback. And we're not talking here about grades, we're talking about understanding material. And finally, in 2021, another interesting study by Pedalbo et al. They discussed that using exit tickets with teacher trainees at university and such tickets as Socrative. I'm sorry. Like this one, actually helped teachers to be teacher trainees reflect more deeply again on the course context, and also helped the instructors identify misunderstanding and adjust their teaching. Again, there are some examples here. For instance, it has improved my attitude towards learning. So again, this was done by trainee teachers, or it helped me reflect on new content explained in class. So as you can see, it's a research-backed strategy and not just a cute end of class idea, research tickets. And let's take a quick look at, as I said in the beginning of the presentation in relation to project-based learning, exit tickets are a great fit and they fit really well into the bigger picture of assessment for learning. So you can take a look at this quote. What did I do as a teacher? Or what did my students learn? So William and Black, how they described assessment for learning concept was that assessment is used to support learning rather than to measure it. So it's not about traditional tests. It's not about evaluating students' performance and giving them grades, right? Which is more about summative assessment. But we're talking here about using learning or using different tools to actually support students throughout the whole process. And if you have never heard about this concept, take a look at a few moves that AFL actually strives for to achieve. We're talking about clarifying goals, first of all, and success criteria. So, for example, before giving students like a project or a task, we want them to understand what good work means. So we share the learning goals for a particular project. We elicit evidence of learning, and by this, we can get some feedback on what they're doing in the classroom. And then this feedback is not just about grades. It helps learning move forward. And also we involve learners in self-assessment, thus building their reflection skills. And so, for example, again, we can do traffic light system, but in this case, learners assess themselves at the end of a project, at the end of a lesson, at the end of a course. Okay, what did they do well? So this is all assessment for learning. And again, importantly, and I'll share just one example later, we're adapting teaching based on the evidence that we achieve. So as you can see, this is exactly where exit tickets come in because they give you that quick evidence of understanding or misconceptions. And the exit tickets are these little tools which are done at the end of the lesson. They spark reflection. And thus we increase and develop learners' motivation, learner autonomy as well. We've highlighted students who need extra support in the classroom. And by this, we can inform next lesson adjustments and provide targeted feedback. So there's a lot of, let's say, background theory here, but I really wanted to see that there is a very solid relationship between theory and practice. So that's what's behind it. And the practice is, so let me show you my first example. We were just doing this with A2 learners, and we were doing ED and ING adjectives for different feelings. Like, I feel excited because the movie is so exciting. We're still trying to, to distinguish between the two and call them adjectives. So take a look at this one. From this example, I can say like, oh yeah, this kid actually understood everything quite well because he's got perfect examples. I feel very bored today because it's raining. I mean, it's continuous. I can't play football. Can't believe how amazing the movie is. Great. But then I look at the next ticket. It's the same task from the same class. I'm confusing. I'm disappointing, but I'm pretty excited, interested in. You see, from this example, I see that there's probably this mixture of forms in that student's head. He's just 12 and he's just starting to learn English, and we're using some meta language like adjectives, for instance, without overwhelming them. And this is how I can target my future lessons, maybe do a quick review. Or next time I ask the students to describe their feelings about something, I will pay more attention to whether they are actually using these forms correctly, because they're supposed to learn, as we discussed in the beginning. How do we know that they learned? Look at the next example. I feel exciting when I watch comedy film. I feel interesting when I watch horror film. So they understand that we use these forms about feelings, but again, it doesn't sound right? Because we need to use it in here. So I see that maybe we need another lesson on the topic. And what can be even more confusing is a ticket like this. I have walked my cats. Okay, the students use an ED form, which is great. It's so sweet. I was doing dishes yesterday. It's a great example of past simple, past continuous. Yes, exactly. It's like, thank you. It's just the wrong topic, but she did use ED form. She's a very creative student. She would always also draw a picture or something. She likes drawing comics and stuff. She would also accompany it with a nice image drawn by herself. But I think I need to get back to this. So this is when we talk about adjusting, your lessons in light of the feedback you received from the student. That's why they're so important. Okay, so let's look at some examples, more focused, specific examples. And I'm going to share 5 examples. And the first one comes from lower primary. So the students like around A1, pre-A1 to A1, 8 to 10 years old. And some of the main challenges, as you know, at this level, limited writing ability, and also short attention span. So, oftentimes instead of insisting on full responses, written responses, I ask them to draw something. In this case, they might really surprise you and just draw some pictures, some cute pictures. Like, for example, the third one here, you see with a mobile phone, it was just a phone, nothing else. Okay, and then I try to encourage that boy to actually write something like, what is it? Or that student on the left, you see, he first just drew all of these little cute images, but then I asked him to label, to write the captions. So at least we could, match the creative element with the learning itself, with the language. And as they become more confident, you can try different ways or different tools, such as, for example, 2 things I learned today. As long as you try, or we try, and do a lot of learner training. It's important because if we don't do this, students might come up with very vague responses, such as I learned English or I watched a video. And this is not what we want to achieve here, right? We want something that is fully reflective, or at least they're making some sentences. And what's great here is that you can show them that you can use past simple in this case in real context. So they have a real need to use, for example, you don't have to say, oh, it's past simple, but let me take a look. There is something missing, not just learn, but learned ahead. You see banana come from South something, Pacific, I guess. So it's amazing. You can just use hashtags. And again, they are free to choose whatever they want to write. It's up to them. Again, maybe older students or slightly stronger students can even ask a question. Like we talked about, there are, and farms, animals on the farm. And then one student said, a question I have, if you have a duck, can I say a duck? or one duck. Isn't it amazing? She's just 10 and she's already critically evaluating what she's learning. That's great. These are the things to get from kids. So this example comes from higher primary class. And again, we can start with just snapshots. Students are a bit older, 9 to 10, a bit higher level. But again, it depends on their abilities and on their willingness to actually contribute to that exit tickets on that day. Some students would just write down some statistics because we were doing this roll call. They had to research different facts and then report these facts and then make a brochure based on those facts about water. And also fossil fuels. But another students, like you see on the right, he would, for example, he would write a lot of notes as maybe he was willing that he wanted to share a bit more. Again, the longer you go, the more complex your prompts can be. And as you see here, some of you mentioned using emoji at the end. So for example, if you don't have time for writing 2-3 sentences, from the lesson, like this one, I know, I guess it's no, K-N-O, when I write if and will, and then I ask them to give an example. If they get a dog, they will train good. If I read the newspaper, I will learn about the world. Or they can just circle how they feel. You see, so using emoji again. And again, later in the course, you can just give students a piece of paper like this. And the students can tell you what they learned in the lesson. So the key is the varieties, as some of you mentioned in the chat and also in the slide. It's a key variety. So another example comes from low mid-secondary students. So we're talking here about 20s, 12 to, let's say 11 to 13, maybe 14 years old. And again, you can see here a variety of exit tickets. For example, sometimes I like to focus on the topic of the lesson. For example, what words did you learn today? But also try to define them. Not just write a list, but tell me what it means or draw a picture. What areas you found challenging? For example, some people say, oh, someone's pronunciation is not clear. Or someone's pictures are very colorful. You see, I like the presentation where they make this skirt, because it's really fashionable and creative. Yeah, so students, as you may remember from that research that I shared, students' responses can reveal a high level of honesty, and it's absolutely true. Some students, for example, this girl, she's not a very strong and very confident student, but she's an amazing artist. So she would always draw pictures next to whatever she's doing. But it's fine as long as she can also tell me a couple of things. You see, just play game, right? Because I did presentation alone, giving presentation. It's fine. They can do as much as they can. It's not a test. There is no correct answer. All very basic. I learned fast fashion is very bad and harmful, like a ham for the environment. You can also spot some spelling mistakes. For example, next time to adjust your teaching, maybe based on the topic, you could just do a quick spelling text. But yeah, some words: sleeve, biodegradable, nice, decompose. Or some people can just put stickers here. I'm really surprised when I meet Albert Einstein. Again, I feel bored. It's like a full exit tickets from the same topic with the ED and ing. So the fourth example, before I share the pictures, let me just give you a bit of context. So for this example, first, these are high school students who are very low in terms of confidence. They lack confidence, I think, because they're 16 and their English level is around A1, A2-ish. So they may want to communicate, but they're very self-conscious. And so they require a lot of support. And so we were doing this task on describing your past holiday. And I asked them, and then I gave them feedback in terms of accuracy, like use of past simple, and use of, for example, language for actions and feelings. I think it was feelings. And then they did the second draft of that task. Okay, so they fixed the mistakes, maybe added some extra details, look at the feedback, and then I asked them to complete the exercise. So take a look. I asked them, How did you feel about writing the story for the first time? Okay, I had some grammar mistakes. I was a bit confused. The story was properly good. Look at that turn of phrase. But then what feedback did you use to help you write stories second time? I used paragraphs, one student told me. Another student told me, well, the feedback helped me know what I used wrong, something about grammar. Now I remember and have experience for the next time. And also something else they would like to get from me or from our lessons. High school students. And the last example also comes from high school students. These are high school B2 students, so very strong, very confident. And these are the students who could tell you a lot about the skills they need, for example, for their IELTS. Let me take a look. This student, for instance, my skill at the same level because the audio is very clear and the speed is pretty slow. So next time I think, okay, I either need to speed up the audio or maybe I need to choose a different audio for the test to challenge them because when they are under challenge, they may feel bored, right? So this is how we're using again assessment for learning. So we are using students' feedback to adjust our future teaching. Or maybe the students would like to get better at time management. So maybe you can also help them with some tips in terms of reading skills. Some people say that this is a kind of practice for me, listening, so it's easy, but I need to work with my grammar, compound nouns. Note taking is an essential skill that will help remember and summarize key points. Great. They can use it in their speaking, for example. Some people wrote some solutions for realistically improving their IELTS writing. Pay attention, read more essays, organize clear structure. The ticket in particular was done at the end of a course after we have done our IELTS course. Again, you see, they can be used with any level, from snapshots, just cute little pictures, or just thumbs up, as some of you mentioned in the Slido in the beginning, to very complex answers. That's why I said 1 minute paper, yes, but as long as they're not rushed. I think it's one of the challenges we have with exit tickets, which we'll talk about in a second. And so, yeah, just some digital examples as you did on Socrative here. So I shared a link with you here, and this is what exit tickets look like. So for example, when you go to Socrative, you can just click exit ticket. For example, then you share the link with the students and they just answer the questions. And so you don't even need to create the ticket. It's already been created. And Padlet, obviously, again, we're going to try this one today as a tool. Different things, for example, 3 things learned, 2 things you want to know, 1 question you still have. And I do believe that these examples, these tools can work really well in hybrid classrooms, or maybe with students who study remotely for some reason, or maybe the ones who are not that confident, so they would need more space, more time in order to articulate their thoughts and put them down. Yeah. So yeah, as effective or as great as exit tickets can be, they do come definitely with a few challenges as well as solutions. Some people mentioned here in the chat that there is time pressure at the end, obviously. If questions lack clarity, then they can cause confusion or rather than reflection, which we don't need to have. Some students may not take it seriously and give very vague responses. Teacher, watched a video today. Yeah, what was the video about? Okay, what did people do in the video, right? I learned new words. Okay, learned new words. Which words did you learn? They can even come up to you. So, for example, when you don't have time to do the whole paper thing, you just literally have 2 minutes. Just have them queue up at the exit out of the classroom. 1 sentence, please give me 1 sentence with ed, adjective, or in past simple, right? I did this, or I finished that. I tried that. Just 1 sentence, for example, with past simple. They could be quick, and this is called an exit ticket. So it all comes down to learner training, as you can see in this solution box. They can also appear monotonous, unfortunately. Students can see them a routine, but there's a boring routine. So especially if you use the same format 2, 3 lessons in a row, that could be like a threat. And also, I believe there is a bit of over-reliance on written skills, particularly for students who express themselves better visually or maybe via speech. And that's why there are some solutions. They also come, or they are also backed up by research findings. For example, with the new scaffolded sentence frames, as the ones I have shared with you, we can prepare. We can also prepare picture prompts in advance, or just ask them to draw a few, 3, 4 things. Vary patterns. So, for example, if we were in a real place, let's say, for example, not digitally, I would also give you a paper exercise, like that for example, that's what they look like. It's the paper like this. And then keeping questions short and targeted, promoting open-ended questions. So you see, the further you go, the easier it becomes for students. I think they start thinking about what they want to write in their exit tickets. At least that's what I'm telling myself every time. And also, we should try and train our learners to respond more meaningfully instead of just giving generic responses. And use them maybe once, twice per week, not every single day in every lesson. So if you have any other ideas in terms of challenges or in terms of maybe solutions you have tried, please go ahead. So I have just a couple things left. As was promised, so that's the tour, which turned into your exit tickets toolbox. 5 sample prompts from different sources, which we can use just straight away, just go into your classroom today, tomorrow, and try very simple prompts, maybe different tools. Today, printouts, tomorrow, sticky notes, and the following week, you can try Padlet or something. Just any digital tools, even Google Forms. 3 formats, we can use paper, drawings, digital tools again. 2 main question types, and also 1 clear purpose. Do we want to check students' understanding? Or we want to encourage reflection? Or we want something to help us guide the next lesson, like with that ed, ing, adjectives? Which one? What do we want from students? So I think it's been a lot of things, and just think about, so because it's a section on exit tickets toolbox, exit tickets for reflection. So reflect on the session today, and maybe tell me what's your key takeaway. You can also try this tool, which is Padlet tool. You can scan the QR code here and choose 1 or all 3 prompts. It's up to you. Just click on the plus and add some of the comments. It's actually, yeah, right here. That was okay. So you see, yeah, that's the exit ticket. So, or you can, yeah, alternatively, we can try this one, which is on Socrates. And there are 3 questions here. So let me see. The question is, how well did you understand today's material? As I said, these are already pre-made on the platform. What did you learn today's class? The importance of, oh, great, of an appropriate exit ticket. And the last one, so you can write in response. So I can also share this if you want to try this one. One by one, okay. Collecting them in the pocket to look at. Yes, I think your kids will really appreciate this. I think I'll give it 2 more minutes. Yes, great. Yeah, they're mutual. So they tell you something, and you take action, right, in response. Suitable ones. Yeah, take a look at. I'm going to share maybe again, if you want, the examples of tickets across disciplines. Great, grateful Kiwis. Thank you for that, because research suggests that you can use them not only in your classrooms, but also in high school classrooms, university settings, and higher education, because research indicates that they have been used and they have been proven is effective in different contexts by both students and by lecturers. So very practical. You can just go into your classrooms and try them straight away. Yes, I love them. Okay, yes, I can see some responses here as well. Yes, you're doing Socrative as well. Yay, you totally got it. Nice. It's just three, but it can give you a quick response, you see here, and or um quick quick poll as how your students got it. So just to share a few tools with you. But thank you for using the Padlet. It's great. I can see some great answers. Supporting collaborative approaches, multi-level systems of support. Amazing. Okay. So, yeah, just because I have to get back to my slides, finally, just a few final thoughts. And as you can see here on the right, these are some of the drawings that our students feelings from those different clubs. You see, practice listening or Ronaldo. They're really low prep, but very high impact tools because they support learner air, voice, and agency, and they encourage what Dewey calls leisurely mental digestion. Students need this pause to make sense of what's going on. What teacher wants from me? So we can say that these small changes in everyday routine, or let's say weekly routine, can definitely lead to very big gains in students' awareness and learning. And I want to finish off with this great quote by two researchers who actually introduced the use of exit tickets in a library to encourage students' reflection on using a library and books in the library, not even an English language setting or a foreign language setting. So exit tickets are a great first step in teaching students how to reflect on what they learn, skills that we hope they take with them to all new learning situations. I think it's a great ending to that amazing topic. And thank you very much for your attention. There are some references here on the slide. And yes, if you have any questions, let me know. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you very much,
yes,
Elena. I loved that final reflection. It was fantastic. I think you gave us lots of useful tips to get into this idea of introducing exit tickets in our lessons. Thank you very much.
Now, this conference wouldn't be possible without our sponsor, Express Publishing. And next up, we have a special session with two Express Publishing authors, Viv Lambert and Cheryl Pelteray.
Hi. So we can start then. As Michelle said, I'm Cheryl and this is Viv.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about how we, as materials writers, are trying to incorporate values into our lesson planning and our lesson writing, because after all, children are not born with a set of values. So where do they learn them? How do they learn them? From who? And we're trying to help teachers, because we believe that it's important for us also to be models of values teaching, to incorporate them into our lessons. So how can we make learning values fun and enjoyable in our classroom?
So in our talk, we're going to look at four main areas. Firstly, what are values? Number two, why should we teach them? Number three, why does the language classroom lend itself so well to teaching values? And then finally, we'll look at how to incorporate values in the language classroom with some practical activities and with some examples from Happy Tunes, which is a primary course that we've been working on at the moment with Express Publishers.
So first of all, let's think about what values actually means. What comes to mind when you hear the word values? What are your values? Let's discuss that in the chat box. If you could just put down your ideas. When I say the word values to you, what do you think? What springs to mind? Anybody?
I'm not sure. Do you think anybody's there yet?
Hopefully.
So, yeah, what do you think of when you hear the word values? Okay, there's a few comments coming in now.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're going to say.
Okay, so we've got
believing what you're worth,
relationships, belief system, citizenship, empathy. Okay. Rules.
Yeah, these are the sort of things that we were also coming up with ourselves, but you've got some more than we suggested. Here's the list.
Which values are basically the beliefs which help a person decide what's good and what's bad, what's right and what's wrong. And here are some of the values that we've come up with. I think you've covered most of these ideas and quite a lot more.
Yep.
Emotion, family.
Yeah.
Just give you a second to have a look at this list that we came up with.
Internal rules, I like that. Yeah. Okay. So
why teach values? Well, research tells us that teaching values benefits children themselves. There are also benefits for the classroom and benefits for society in general. How do you think teaching values might benefit the child? And how might it benefit the classroom and society? Can you put any ideas into the chat box for us? Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we should look at benefits for the child, first of all. Why should a child learn values? What's the point of it? Why do we try so hard to incorporate this into our teaching? Think about how children might build self-awareness, for example, emotional intelligence. Certainly helps them shape their future, leading to just general well-being. These are some of the general topics you find in course books. Lots of them are overlapping. And we just wondered how you would approach values given this kind of topic. So what sort of things come to mind? For example, if you're doing a topic, my house, what kind of values do you think you're going to get out of that? Any ideas from anybody? We may not have that much time to get all your ideas, so we may just carry on. But yes, being tidy, definitely, that's one of them. Yeah, being tidy. Family relationships, cooperation, respecting others. Yeah, that's one.
Okay, and another topic we've shown here is called healthy and happy. So what kind of values could you draw from a unit like this? We're trying to show how the ELT classroom provides an ideal context for developing values. So here with healthy and happy, we could do, taking care of our body, thank you. Perhaps eating well, emotional well-being.
And then animals in the garden, this one is my favorite. What sort of values do you think might come out of that? Easy one. Often they do, and young learners do, looking after pets or respecting animals, animal welfare, looking after endangered species, things like that. Yeah. Okay.
So within these topics in our course books, there are lots of different activity types that we can use to explore values. One of the most obvious is songs.
So we can often pick up on values in songs, like this one, for example. Well, instead of me saying what it is, I'll just play a little bit of it.
Hello, my friend. How are you today? Are you bored? Are you hungry? Are you okay?
Right, I have to stop there. Songs, for example, that one is about feelings, clearly. And so you would ask your children, how do you feel? What do you do when your friend feels sad or has a problem? And so it leads to that kind of discussion.
And we're going to ask you now to think about other activity types that you can use to explore values. And while you have a think about the activity types, we'll play a little bit more of the song.
Yeah. So what other activities do you think you can use in the classroom?
Hello, my friend. How are you today? Are you bored? Are you hungry? Are you okay?
I'm not bored. I'm not hungry.
sad. Oh, I'm sorry, that's too bad.
Yeah. So as you mentioned in the chat box, role play is one of them. Drama and role play, stories, discussion, games, songs, speaking activities, all these things come up in course books and lend themselves really naturally to values teaching.
So we don't need specific values lessons. Values are already built into stories or special units, speaking practice. Let's have a look at some specific values related activities now.
The kindness jar is something that probably all of you have used in some shape or form, where children put their ideas of random acts of kindness on slips of paper into a jar. And then what a lot of teachers like to do is, as the week goes on, take one out randomly and have the child perform that act of kindness. And it leads to a sort of ongoing follow-up. So, it's not enough just to put the act of kindness in the jar, but to actually perform it. So that's quite a nice idea. And then I thought, actually, I came across this lovely video where a teacher has a different way of dealing with the kindness jar. I'll just play you a little bit of that because we won't have enough time.
Pom-pom jar is a positive reinforcement strategy that promotes kindness. Whenever they help someone, they can put a pom-pom in the jar. Eric, I see you put a pom-pom in the jar. What did you do?
I helped Kaichi to spell some words.
Fantastic! So first you get your materials and then you give some example of what's kindness. You can say nice words to someone, share pencil, eraser, or pass out papers. Each time a student put a pom-pom in the jar, we will say what the kid did.
And how they even put her garbage in the garbage can.
When the pom-pom jar gets full, we will have our classroom party. So once I introduce this activity, kids are more peaceful. I don't see that much argument. The kids help each other.
Yeah, so that comes from this fantastic website, Utopia, Edutopia, full of great ideas. So that was a nice one, I think, to share.
What about stories? Pictures and picture stories are a great way to start exploring different values. Here's a picture story from Happy Tunes, which is also animated. So one of the most attractive aspects of picture stories is the way they help children visualize abstract concepts, so values they may not have the vocabulary to articulate yet. Values are more likely to resonate with children when they see their favorite characters demonstrating them.
So here you would have a quick look at the pictures and ask them, look at the title. What do you think this one's going to be about, for example? Yeah, values are more comprehensible in the story. That's a good comment there. Thank you. We were going to play you the animation, but I think it's going to take a little bit long now. So Happy Tunes is fantastic, as has these stories animated. So it's a nice feature.
Can you show the beginning of it?
I could show a little beginning of it. Okay, so this is how it goes.
Are you ready? We're going to climb that hill.
Hurry up, Sophia.
Look, Dad. The GPS shows that this path is easier.
Okay, let's take that one. The other path is more difficult and more dangerous. Your bag looks heavy, Sophia.
Yes, I'm prepared for anything.
I think I may have to stop there, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, so the values we can identify in this story are things like being prepared. And later you see the children being kind to each other, acting responsibly, friendship. So you can talk to the class about all the values in the story and ask them if they've found themselves in similar situations and what lessons they learned from their experiences. Finally, they can role play the story, act out what's happening in the pictures, and this is another way to further reinforce the value.
And then you have quizzes or questionnaires. These are a great way to help learners think about their own behavior and attitudes. And they're very easy to make as well. If you have a topic, you can just, ask some questions, give some multiple choice answers, and get children to do some sort of reflective thinking about the value.
So the questions here look very simple, but what do you think we're trying to get children to think about? The values start small, just thinking like, how often do they sit next to somebody different or try a new sport? It's a starting point for a bigger issue, in this case, having an open mind or growth mindset.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got speaking activities like this, simple dialogues where you're focusing on useful language. But here you can also go a little bit deeper and talk about, what kind of things do you apologize for? And what do you say when someone apologizes? How do you respond to that? So it becomes a wider discussion than just a useful language box.
But of course, we mustn't forget the most important model for values in the classroom is you. Yes, you, the teacher. You model, praise good behaviour, encourage respect in the classroom. And studies confirm that the main transmitters of values in schools is the teacher. Mm-hmm. Children copy us, not just our words, but our actions too.
So here are some popular myths and misconceptions about values teaching. We were going to discuss these with you, but you could just have a quick look at them and in the chat box tell me whether you agree or disagree with these. Children automatically learn values by being told how to behave. Do you agree with that one? Oh, hopefully not.
Okay.
What about
the second one? Children learn a lot from observing how teachers behave. Yes, of course. We just talked about that.
And this might be something that some teachers will say, it's not our job. Teaching values is not the job of the teacher. They've got enough work to do. Well, hopefully we've tried to make it less onerous for you as a teacher by, not having to ask you to teach values specifically, but incorporating them into activities means you're teaching them without actually even knowing it.
And number 4, teaching values takes too much time and distracts from learning. No.
Related to what we just said, hopefully not. If it's part of the...
Shouldn't take extra time. It should be part of the learning.
Yeah. But I think we'll probably all agree with number 5, hopefully. And that's it from us, actually. So thank you very much. I'm sorry we had to rush through the last bit.
But, yes, sorry about the
we
glitch.
Pretty much covered what we wanted to say with less interaction from you than we would have liked. But thank you for listening.
Yeah, and also we wanted to thank you for showing us so many values, in particular patience, when the whole system crashed.
Yeah, and coming back. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Viv. Thank you, Cheryl. And thank you for being so understanding and flexible. I know I can get into a bit of a panic when these technical problems happen, but you stayed very calm. I'm very impressed.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's got any questions because we do have a couple of minutes left. I haven't seen any in the Q&A. If anybody does have a question, feel free to type it in to the chat, and I'm sure Viv and Cheryl will be happy to respond. Maybe I should have thought of a question myself.
Okay.
Well, I have a question actually that Catherine asked in the previous session, but wasn't answered because of time, and it was about the use of L1. How do you feel about using L1 when discussing values, and do you have any particular strategies or activities to help students, express their experiences in relation to these values?
I think definitely, depending on the level, but definitely, I see no problem with discussing them in L1. I would definitely do that, and maybe just give them some of the key words, the key new words or the key phrases that are related to those values in English. But yeah, it's perfectly fine in my eyes to use L1. Don't know if you agree, Viv.
I totally agree. Yes, I think that some of these concepts are quite complicated, and it's not part of the language content of their course. As we keep saying, it underpins everything else that we're doing. So definitely, I think you should resort to L1 where necessary. No problem.